Hello and welcome to our tutorial. We are going to make a very simple sort of Donkey Kong clone 2D game. Okay, so I'm going to create this from scratch so you can see the whole process. There's another video I've uploaded which has instructions on how to get sprites out of Blender if you've made 3D models. Okay, so we've got a completely blank project. This is our scene window. This is our game at the moment. We'll select our main camera. We'll change the background to be just slightly off-white. That's fine. So there's our game so far. We're going to import our sprite. So import new asset. We go to our desktop, and there's my sprite. There's my two scripts. I'll be getting them later. And you can see I've got a few more assets in the sprite sheet, so I'm going to import that. I'm going to change it to being a multiple sprite because there's multiple sprites inside the single sheet. I need to apply that, and then I'm going to go to the sprite editor, and we are going to slice it up. We'll just auto slice it here. See what we get. So we've got our boss kind of character here, our truss, our other truss, our barrel. So let's rename some of these things so we can find them a little more easily. So we'll call this bar, we'll call this long bar, and we'll call this here the boss. Now, the rest of these should be fine. Try not to move them. Yeah, they all should be all fine. So we'll apply them. And we may find this one or two random sprites, but we'll see. So here we are. Here, this is our walking and the other items. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take one sprite here and drop it in. I'm going to rename it player, and there's my sprite. So happy days. Now what we're going to try and do here is we're going to set up, just to kind of show you how to do it, I'm going to set up what's called an animation state machine, which sounds very grand, but it's quite straightforward. So we're going to create an animation for this. So we're going to go Window, Animation, and because we have the player selected here, it says, you know, begin animating player. So create. We'll call this idle. So we want the sprite to just be able to stand still when we're not touching the keys for it to do nothing. So it's going to bring in a single sprite, single frame. So when I'm not touching the keys, it's going to play this frame. Now, I'll play it 60 frames a second. So playing away, goodo, but you know, nothing. So it's playing this 60 times a second, and nothing is moving. Fine. To make a second animation, I go create new clip, and we'll call this walk. And this is all the rest of them. So we drag and drop them in, and we'll press play. Now it's a bit too quick, so we'll bring this back to about 12 frames, and we press play. Now we have a disappearing magical piece at the end, so you can see I've got 2 frames here. So I can press the delete key when I select them. So I had 2 frames there that had no image in them, so they were probably you know, remnants of bits of image that were in the sprite sheet. So they're probably 17 and 19 or something here. So let's just play this again anyway. Let's see, make sure it doesn't disappear, and yeah, it looks pretty good. So now I've got 2 animations. So close my animation window, and let's have a little look at what's here. So named after my player, I've got a player controller. So this is going to control all the animations to do this sprite. And these are my 2 individual animations. So I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call this sprites and animations. I'm going to take all that and throw it in there. new folder, we'll call it scripts, and we'll call a new folder, and we'll call this one scenes. Okay, so let's have a look at this animation controller and what it means and what it does. So select my player, and then I go over here to this tab here, animator. If that's not there, you can call it up here, this window here, if that's not visible to you. Now, what's all this stuff? So this is called a state machine, or specifically an animation state machine. If you can imagine, particularly in say something like I don't know, first-person shooter or third-person shooter, you'd have lots and lots of animations. So you'd have reload, firing, running, jogging, jumping, climbing, and each of those animations would be represented in here by a little brick, and each one of these is called a state. So if it's playing this animation, it's in its idle state. If it's playing this animation, it's in its walk state. So we need a way to get from one state to another. So I'm going to right click and go make transition and click on this one. Now I could just as easily make a transition and go over here, or make a transition over here, and actually I can't go to those two, but if I had other animations I could make multiple transitions. So this is kind of the easiest state machine we'll make, where we go from idle to walk and walk to idle. So this is the transition here. When I click on the actual little cable, little wire between the two, I get the properties of the transition. So I want to have some sort of parameter that I can say, when this is true, play this animation. So over here I've got parameters. I'm going to go plus, and I'm going to select a bool. So a float is a decimal, and int is an integer, a whole number. A bool is true or false, and we've got triggers, and we'll get to them another day. So I'm going to select bool, and I'm going to type in walk. Now the spelling of it and capitalization, etc. is important. So now on my transition I'm going to say my conditions are, if walk is true, play this. Now what I need to do is make a transition back from walk to idle, and over here I'm going to say if walk is false. So if it's true, I'm going to play walk, and if it's false, I'm going to play idle. Excellent. So now let's see that in operation. So I'm going to import a new asset. I'm going to import my player movement script. There it is there. Now I'm going to open this in MonoDevelop, and you'll be able to see it in action. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, because there's a couple of new things in it that we haven't seen before. Okay, so this was in the script that we used in class, the speed of the character walking, speed of jump, etc. This is a new line of code, animator, and this is also new here, and these are related. So I'm basically saying there is an animator, and I need to access it. I need to access this thing, animator. Now what is that thing? So if I select the player here and go over here, it says it has a component called animator. So get component animator. Okay. And what that allows Unity to do is it allows this script to control this component. And what is this component? Well, it's this over here. So this is this, basically. Or at least this is the window into this. This is the animation controller. So you see this as player here. So this is the player animation controller. So this line here sets a variable, and then I say get component animator. Now the reason I would set a variable of an animator, I actually don't need that, I could get rid of it, is I may end up with I might have 10 sprites or 20 sprites, and each one might have their own animations. So I need to be able to say which controller I want it to access. At the moment I've only got one, so it has defaulted in. But if I had lots of other sprites, if I had a boss character and non-player characters that all had animations, I need to be able to differentiate between each one and tell it which one I want to access. Okay, so this is basically saying access that state machine. Now, function update we looked at, and we were basically saying move and then the direction that the sprite should be faced in. And then we have this new line of code, and I'm saying if I press this key, set walk to be true. This is the Boolean parameter I've set. And down here I've said if I press A, same thing. So set the Boolean parameter walk, set it to be true. And oh, and I've put these things. Ignore that. That's a. We don't need that. What we do need though is we need to set it to be false. So let's just write that for now. How we turn off the walk. So we could use an else command, but it gets a bit messy, so we won't do that. So we'll go if input dot any key. Alright, so if any key, and if any key is false, so equal. So if any key is false, so if I'm not pressing any key, okay, that's what that means. So if there's no keys pressed, then we want to set this to false. Right, so if I press the D key, it's true. If I press the A key, it's true. If I press no key, it's false. So let's just save that. Toddle back into Unity. We have no major errors down here. No big red lights saying don't use the script. I'm going to take the script and drag it and drop it onto the player. Now it's saying what's the animator. So alright, I need to. Oh, so sometimes you can drag and drop into these windows, and other times you've got these little circles that you click on, and I can select it that way. So this player here, the animator, is this one here, but anyway, I have to access it through its menu. So let's press play. Now we're not going to worry about what direction I'm walking in, etc. I'm just interested in the animations. So at the moment we can see the idle animation is playing away. I'm going to press the A key. Okay, now I've let go of the A key and I'm back to idle. Okay, I press the D key and I moved across, and you can see the transitions working here. Now I'm moving in the correct direction with these guys, but when I press the keys the facing is incorrect. So let's just jump back into the script, and that means that that should be -1 and that should be that should be 1. That should be correct. And let's press play. Press the A key and press the D key. That's not right. So let's stick a minus there and a minus there and reverse that movement and press play, see if that works. Yay! Okay, so I press A, I go to the left, I press D, I go to the right, and our animation is playing. When I let go of the keys, I go back to the idle cycle. So that's, you know, if we got nothing else done, that's you know, enough in that as a lesson there. We're going to just turn this into our Donkey Kong game. So we're just going to go File, Save Scene, just so we can save all that information. We go into our scenes here, and we'll call this Level 1, because I am not creative. I'm sure I could find a much better name for that. And go back over here to my scene window. Okay, so let's just set this up really simply. Let's go back to our sprites and open this sprite up, and we'll take our long bar, we'll drag it in there and set it down at the bottom. Yeah, so put that there, and we'll bring the long bar in again. And now we're going to have to really work on the jump kind of parameter for this. So I'm hitting rotation, I'm going to rotate it down. I need the sprite, which is quite big, this player sprite, I need this to be able to fit underneath here. Okay, so about there. So I can start my player, say here, and I take my long bar here and duplicate it again. Again, move it across that way. Back to movement. There we go. And up a little bit. So again, I just take my player, check for height, see if he can get through there. Yeah, just about. And yeah, it's enough for now. So again, it's only it's a simulation. It's not really a game in terms of what we're doing. So let's add some physics. So I should have added physics to this before I duplicate it. But anyway, so we got 3 of them. So physics 2D, box collider. Okay, next one, physics 2D, box collider, and this one, add component, physics 2D, box collider. Okay, so that's all good. We take our player, and what are we going to do with our player? We're going to do the same thing. We're going to go physics 2D, we'll add a box collider, and then we're also going to go physics 2D, rigid body. Now let's start this guy down here and press play. Now there I am, I'm resting. I press the D key. Dum, dum, dum. Okay, turn back around and I can jump, but I can't jump high enough, so I'll have to fix that. I'll have to tweak the script. So let's give it a value of 12 here, and then click back here and jump. Yeah, so it might get me there. Yeah. Whoa, no, I've fallen over. Game over. So let's start again and walk along. Dum, da, dum, and turn back over again. So yeah. So again, we're going to look at not having that happen. In fact, I can actually probably do that now. I can stop them spinning. So here I've got constraints, and I can freeze rotation on different axes. So I'm going to go freeze rotation on Z. Now I want you to think about the axes that we have here. This is the red is X and the yellow is Y, and blue is Z, and it's basically coming straight towards us. So this sort of rotation here is Z rotation. Okay, so I've just said freeze rotation Z. So I'm gonna change this to 12 now and press play, and hopefully that kind of even if I catch the edge of this, I should stay on it. I should not. Yeah, so you can see even when I'm right at the edge, I can't fall off because I've frozen the rotation. So I can turn this way and off I go. So I can finish the game. Happy days. And the only other thing I really want to do here is, because this is just like a simple sort of simulation, is I want to add in the barrels. So I'll take a barrel, throw it in there, and then go add component, physics 2D, circle collider, and we'll change the radius of it a little bit. And then we want to add to this physics 2D, rigid body, and then we're going to move this up here, and so it's off screen, and we'll duplicate it. Oops. Now in our next class we'll be looking at, and I know you've done this with Ross already, we'll be looking at instantiation, which is the the addition of objects. So if you wanted to hit a gun and you press fire and a bullet is added into the scene, we'll be doing that. So we'll go maximize on screen, press play, and our barrel should roll in. Now it may be going too fast and roll off the edge, or it may not. It may come back. Let's see. Where are my barrels? There's my barrels. Oh dear, this is a terrible game. Okay, I'll push that barrel. So what we had before, so I'm going to try this into my scripts folder. We had if I import my script from my desktop, we had load level. So let's just have a look at this script and open it up in monodevelop as the no, yes, no, game show, hang on, load level. There we go. So, yeah, so let's just move this around a bit. So instead of loading in our scenes, so I'll tell you what, we'll make a new JavaScript, and we'll call this barrel death. Okay, double click it and open it up here. Hang on. There we go. So barrel death is an empty script. So I'm going to take all of this, Control C, and go over to barrel death and bring it in here. Control V. Now the first thing is I don't need this because I'm not changing scene, and as a consequence I don't need either of them. So I'm just basically going to function on collision. If I collide with something with the tag player, do something. So what I want to do is I want to go destroy game object, which means destroy me. Save. Now, so let's just think about where that should go, where that script should go. So if I collide with something that has the property player, then destroy me. So the destroy me bit should give it away as to what it should go on. So this should go on the player because that's the one that will be destroyed. And then, unlike when we did it before, we'll rename this player and this player. So now we're going to press play, and what we want to see here, and hopefully we don't have to wait too long, is if I touch the barrel, I disappear. So the game object is ended. It's a really poor game now. The level is still running and I have no player, but you get the idea. So now this is super basic, but hopefully you're starting to see how you use relatively simple tools. I've only one or two scripts here. My sprite and my what's new in this tutorial is this thing here. So my animation state machine. So I hope that makes sense. We'll be doing it in class anyway. Thank you.